Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we have our ninth lecture, which is about conditional probability and Bayes theorem. This is the comprehensive video from a graduate students of MIT explaining conditional probability in a better way. Let us start.
My name is Sam Watson, and I'm a graduate student in mathematics at MIT. Before watching this video, you should be familiar with basic probability vocabulary and the definition of conditional probability. After watching this video, you'll be able to calculate the conditional probability of a given event using tables and trees, and understand how conditional probability can be used to interpret medical diagnoses. Suppose that in front of you are two bowls labeled A and B. Each bowl contains 5 marbles. Bowl A has 1 blue and 4 yellow marbles. Bowl B has 3 blue and 2 yellow marbles. Now choose a bowl at random and draw a marble uniformly at random from it. Based on your existing knowledge of probability, how likely is it that you pick a blue marble? How about a yellow marble? Pause the video. When the number of possible outcomes is finite and all outcomes are equally likely, the probability of an event happening is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of possible outcomes. Out of the 10 marbles you could choose from, 4 are blue, so the probability of choosing a blue marble is 4 out of 10. There are 6 yellow marbles out of 10 total, so the probability of choosing yellow is 6 out of 10. What if you must draw from bowl A? What's the probability of drawing a blue marble given that you draw from bowl A? Pause the video. Let's go back to the table and consider only bowl A. Bowl A contains 5 marbles, of which 1 is blue, so the probability of picking a blue one is 1 in 5. Notice that the probability has changed. In the first scenario, the sample space consists of all 10 marbles, because we are free to draw from both bowls. In the second scenario, we are restricted to bowl A. Our new sample space consists of only the 5 marbles in bowl A. We ignore the marbles in bowl B. Restricting our attention to a specific set of outcomes changes the sample space and can also change the probability of an event. This new probability is what we call a conditional probability. This is standard notation for conditional probability. The vertical bar is read as given. The probability we are looking for precedes the bar, and the condition follows the bar. In the previous example, we calculated the conditional probability of drawing a blue marble, given that we draw from bowl A. Now let's flip things around. Suppose someone picks a marble at random from either bowl A or bowl B and reveals to you that the marble drawn was blue. What is the probability that the blue marble came from bowl A? In other words, what's the conditional probability that the marble was drawn from bowl A given that it is blue? Pause the video and try to work this out. Going back to the table, because we are dealing with the condition that the marble is blue, the sample space is restricted to the 4 blue marbles. Of these 4 blue marbles, 1 is in bowl A, and each is equally likely to be drawn. Thus, the conditional probability is 1 out of 4. Notice that the probability of picking a blue marble, given that the marble came from bowl A, is not equal to the probability that the marble came from bowl A, given that the marble was blue. Each has a different condition, so be careful not to mix them up. We've seen how tables can help us organize our data and visualize changes in the sample space.
So you have studied the comprehensive explanation on conditional probability, and here is the formula, and I hope that you all understand the formula for the dependent events and the independent events. We will discuss it in a little bit more detail in the chapter of Bayes theorem. So the probability of the event or outcome based on the occurrence of a previous event or outcome. Conditional probability is the probability that the event will occur given that the event has already occurred. I hope that you got the clear idea. I am not discussing the dependent and independent events for now, but I want you to get the concept. A bar B or B bar A means given that. You have also understand the example given to you. Now this is the used case for the previous lecture, that is about marginal probability, joint probability and conditional probability. So this case also have understanding for the lesson you have studied now, that is about conditional probability. It is a use case of Eureka's training, and I have fetched it from the internet, and 60 candidates have got the training, have studied on the Institute of Eureka, and they have divided all the students in categories, that 60 candidates without training and 45 candidates with training, and they are assessing the salary package of that student. So total is 105, 60 plus 45. So see the table. You can see the table. The first question is find the probability that the candidate has gone Eureka's training. So the total candidate should be in the denominator, that is 105, and the candidate has gone Eureka training is 45. So it is marginal probability. So it is 45 upon 105. Very easy. The second is the condition, the joint probability. Why I am saying it joint? Because find the probability that a candidate has gone Eureka's training. Okay, but plus he has a good package. So you can see here that we will go to this column directly and see the candidate has gone Eureka's training. The candidates having Eureka's training are 45, but the condition is this is joint probability that the candidate has gone to training, but he should have a good package. So what column we are going to take? This one. Why this one? Because it is inside Eureka's training and have a good package. And what is the total? Total is 105. So it is joint probability. The third question is find the probability that the candidate has good package, and the condition is that he has not undergone Eureka's training. So the candidate has good package, this column is here, and he has not gone Eureka's training, this column is here. So there are 5 candidates, and it is saying that not undergone Eureka's training. So the total candidates which have not gone under Eureka's training are 60. We are not going taking the total of 105 because the condition said that the candidate has a good package, and given that he has not undergone Eureka's training. So the total candidates having a good package are 5, are actually 35, but the condition says that not undergone Eureka's training, so they are only 60. So what I am doing, 5 divided by 60, that is conditional probability. Hope you understand the perfect definition of joint, marginal and conditional probability. Let us move towards the theorem, that is Bayes theorem. But before explaining you this, I want to show you a short video about Bayes theorem that is taken from the Udacity Nano Degree course of data sciences. So let us see the video, then you can get the proper explanation what Bayes theorem is about. Let us see this video and listen it carefully, then I will show you the picture and we will do a numerical of Bayes theorem. Let us see.
Hello again, and welcome to the naive Bayes section. Naive Bayes is a more probabilistic algorithm which is based on playing with the concept of conditional probability. This algorithm has great benefits such as being easy to implement and very fast to train. We'll be studying one of its very interesting applications, natural language processing. In the lectures and in the lab, we'll use it to analyze text in emails and speeches. We'll start with an example. Let's say we're in an office and there are two people, Alex and Brenda, and they are both there the same amount of time. One day we're in the office and we see someone passing by really fast. We can't tell who it is, but we'd like to take a guess. So far, with all we know, all we can infer is that since they're both in the office the same amount of time, the probability of the person being Alex is 50%, and the probability of the person being Brenda is also 50%. But now let's try to use more information so we can make a better guess of who the person is. When we saw the person running by, we noticed that they were wearing a red sweater. So we'll use that piece of information. We've known Alex and Brenda for a while, and actually we've noticed that Alex wears a red sweater 2 days a week, and Brenda wears a red sweater 3 days a week. We don't know which days, but we are sure of this fact. Also, when we say week, we mean work week, so 5 days. Although at the end, this won't matter much. So now what we'll do is we'll use this piece of information to help us make a better guess. First off, since Alex wears a red sweater less than Brenda, it's easy to imagine that it's a bit less likely that the person we saw is Alex than that it is Brenda. But exactly how likely? Well, let's say that if we saw a person pass by 5 times, it would make sense to think that 2 of these times it was Alex, since he wears a red sweater twice a week, and the other 3 times it was Brenda, since she wears a red sweater 3 times a week. Therefore, from here we can infer that the probabilities are 40 and 60. We've used the information about the color of the sweater to obtain better probabilities about who was the person who passed by. This is Bayes' theorem, and we'll learn it more in detail in the next few videos. The initial guess we had, the 50-50 guess, is called the prior, since it's all we could infer prior to the new information about the red sweater. The final guess we have, the 60-40 guess, is called the posterior, since we've inferred it after the new information has arrived. In the last video we saw an example of Bayes' theorem, but here's the main idea of it, and it's a very powerful theorem. What it does is it switches from what we know to what we infer. What we know in this case is the probability that Alex wears red, and the probability that Brenda wears red. And what we infer is the opposite, is the probability that someone wearing red is Alex, or that someone wearing red is Brenda. In other words, initially we know the probability of an event A, and to give us more information, we introduce a new event R, which is related to A. We know the probability of R given A. What Bayes' theorem does is, from these two, it infers the probability of A given R. This is the new probability of A once we know that the event R has occurred. Bayes' theorem can get a little more complex. Let's take a look at a small example, and what we'll do here is we'll mess a bit with the prior probability. So again, we have Alex and Brenda in the office, and we saw someone pass by quickly, and we don't know who the person is. So let's say we look more carefully at their schedules and we realize that Alex actually works from the office most of the time. He comes by 3 days a week. And Brenda travels a lot for work, so she actually comes to the office only 1 day a week. So initially, without knowing anything about the red sweater, all we know is that it's 3 times more likely to see Alex than to see Brenda. Therefore, our prior probabilities are 0.75 for Alex and 0.25 for Brenda. And let's say that we have this happening throughout all the weeks. But now we use our extra knowledge, which is that the person we saw had a red sweater. The rule is still as before, as Alex wears red twice a week and Brenda wears red 3 times a week. So naively, we would think that the real probabilities are not exactly 0.75 or 0.25, because Brenda wears the red sweater more than Alex, so they should be a little closer to each other. Let's calculate them. So we'll do the following. Let's think of the columns as weeks instead. So now, for each 5-day work week, Alex wears red twice and Brenda 3 times. So we color the days they were red. Now, since we know the person wore red, we forget about the times that they didn't. So we have 9 times someone wore red. 6 of them are Alex, and 3 of them are Brenda. Therefore, among 9 times we saw someone wearing red, 2/3 of the times it was Alex, and 1/3 of the time it was Brenda. Thus, our posterior probabilities are 2/3, or 0.67 for Alex, and 1/3, or 0.33 for Brenda. So it looks like we did a little bit of magic. Let's do this again in a more mathematical way. We saw a person, and initially all we know is that it's Alex with a 75% probability and Brenda with a 25% probability, since Alex comes to the office 3 times a week and Brenda once a week. But now new information comes to light, which is that the person is wearing a red sweater, and the data says that Alex wears red 2 times a week. So now we look at Alex. What is the probability that he's wearing red? Since a work week has 5 days, then the probability of him wearing red is 2/5 or 0.4. And the probability of him not wearing red is the complement, so 0.6. Same thing with Brenda. Since she wears red 3 times a week, then the probability of her wearing red today is 0.6, and the probability of her not wearing red is 0.4. Now, by the formula of conditional probability, the probability that these two will happen is the product of the two probabilities, P of Alex times P of red given Alex. Therefore, the probability that the person we saw is Alex and that they're wearing red is precisely 0.75 times 0.4. We multiply them and put the result here. We calculate the other probabilities in the same way. The probability that the person we saw is Alex and that he's not wearing red is 0.75 times 0.6. The probability that the person we saw is Brenda and that she's wearing red is again the product of these probabilities, which is 0.25 times 0.6. And finally, the probability that the person we saw is Brenda and that she's not wearing red is 0.25 times 0.4. And now here's where the Bayesian magic happens. Are you ready? We have 4 possible scenarios, and you can check that these 4 probabilities add to 1. But we know one thing, that the person we saw was wearing red. Therefore, out of these 4 scenarios, only 2 are plausible. The 2 when the person is wearing red. So we forget about the other 2. Now, since our new universe consists of only these 2 scenarios, then the probabilities should be higher, but the ratio should still be the same with respect to each other. This means we need to normalize them, or equivalently, divide them by something so that they now add to 1. The thing we should divide them by is the sum of the 2. So our new probability of the person being Alex is the top one, namely 0.75 times 0.4, divided by the sum of the 2, namely 0.75 times 0.4 plus 0.25 times 0.6. This is precisely 2/3 or 0.67. And now we can see that the complement is the probability that the person is Brenda, which is 1/3 or 0.33. If we take Brenda's probability and divide it by the sum of both probabilities, we can see that we get 1/3 as desired. And that's it. That is Bayes' theorem at its full potential.
So I hope that everyone got the proper idea about the Bayes theorem. And Bayes theorem is a very powerful theorem, and it is used in machine learning techniques most of the time. It is easy, elegant and old theorem, and you have also studied in this video about the prior and posterior word. So you can see here is the prior, which is probability of event A, and this is the posterior likelihood. We will discuss it as a inverse or as a duplicate inverse of posterior. I will explain it later. So you have got the basic idea about the Bayes theorem with a proper example, and everyone who knows the conditional probability can understand these given that terms, because that's why that is the purpose that I have merged the Bayes theorem with conditional probability, both the lectures in one lesson. So we will discuss about the deep application of Bayes theorem. Let us move towards the formula. And here is the formula written in for you in visual demonstration. It is used in Gmail spam folder. You can see in your email addresses that the spam email are already separated. Most of you have noticed that this is done through machine learning, and the naive Bayes technique is used. So for now you have to know about the conditional probability and how it works, and the Bayes theorem and the formula of Bayes theorem. Let us move towards an example, and this example is taken from Wikipedia and the course of Applied AI, which is downloaded from futurecourse-learning.com. A factory produces 3 machines A, B and C, and the machine A produces 20% of the whole equipment of the factory. Machine B produces 30%, machine C produces 50%. We have written these machine A, B, C as A1, A2 and A3, three machines. Okay, and these three machines also produce defective items. Okay, so these defective items are written separately because this is the total item of machine A, and out of these 20 items 5% produced by machine A is defective. So it is producing total of 20, means the defective item is produced given that you know the conditional probability, you are master in understanding in this. B, capital B stands for defective. The machine produces defective element given that defective element comes from machine A. That is conditional probability and it is already given. Now this is 3%. The machine B produces 30% of the total outcome, and this statement is saying that the equipment is defective and given that it comes from machine B. You can see it is 3%. We have written 0.03. Now the third one is 50%, which is the total outcome of machine C, and we are calling machine C as A3. Okay, and the item produced defective by machine C is 1%. So what is the statement is saying? The B is for defective. The equipment produced is defective given that it comes from machine C, that is 1%, that is 0.01. So I already I am hopeful that you understand these two statements. Now move towards the third. The question is saying, if the randomly selected item, we select random item and it is defective, what is the probability that it comes from machine C? So let us move forward. I have seen Wikipedia like these types of formulas are given or written. What is the purpose of these formulas? The guy is also thinking. So it is very simple. You have to write all the machines separately in the form of these statements. What are these statements doing? Very simple, very simple. These statements are written for calculating the totally defective element. What we have done? We have done the machine A produced total element multiply by PB of A1, means the item is defective given that it comes from machine A1. Then the second statement for written for machine A2. The third statement is written for machine A3. So we all have these values, the first, the second. So we have multiply and we got the total defective defective item. Answer of only total defective, because machine A produced defective, machine B produced defective, machine C produced defective. We got the total defective, and after the total defective, let us move forward. I am using the Bayes theorem. The Bayes theorem, what for which purpose? I am telling that I have randomly selected the item and it is defective, and what is the probability that it comes from machine C? So I have just copied this formula exactly, and what is the formula saying? That A3 is the machine 3 given that the item is defective B. And I have already told you, if you have seen the formula very clearly and understand the formula by your mind, by the inner mind, you can always write the formula by yourself. See it. What it is written? A3B. A3 given that B. Make the inverse BA3. Okay. And after making the inverse, what is the second term? These second terms is always used separately here. And what is the first term? First term is always used separately in the denominator. So the item you selected and defective, and it is defective, what is the probability that it comes from the machine C? Is 5/24. That's all for Bayes theorem, and that is the very important theorem. So you all have the complete idea of the Bayes theorem and the conditional probability. So in this lecture we have deeply discussed the Bayes theorem, is potential, and the conditional probability with the help of videos and proper examples. So I am closing this lecture. Hope you have understand all the things I have discussed about conditional probability with proper and understandable examples and Bayes theorem with a numerical from Wikipedia. Thank you so much.